The bass thundered through my chest like a second heartbeat, vibrating through the soles of my heels and up my spine. I closed my eyes and let the music carry me, my hips swaying to the rhythm as colored lights strobed across my face. For the first time in 3 months, I wasn't thinking about Marcus, wasn't replaying every moment of our 5-year relationship, searching for the signs I'd missed, wasn't wondering how I'd been so blind to his affair with his assistant. Tonight, I was just Diana, dancing, breathing, existing without the weight of betrayal crushing my chest. "You're glowing!" my best friend Arya shouted over the music, her dark curls bouncing as she danced beside me. She'd been the one to drag me here to Lux, the most exclusive nightclub in the city, the one with velvet ropes and doormen who decided your worth with a single glance. Somehow, Arya's connections had gotten us past those ropes, into this world of champagne and bass drops and beautiful people who moved like they owned the night. I smiled at her. Genuinely smiled for the first time in weeks. The silver dress she'd loaned me clung to curves I'd forgotten I had, and my blonde hair fell in waves down my bare back. I felt like someone else tonight. Someone who hadn't spent the last 3 months crying into her pillow. Someone who hadn't watched her entire future crumble when she'd walked in on her fiancé with another woman in their bed. "I'm trying," I called back, raising my arms above my head as the DJ transitioned into something with a deeper beat. Around us, the crowd pulsed and writhed, a mass of bodies moving as one organism. The VIP section glowed above us, separated by more velvet ropes and intimidating security. I'd caught glimpses of the people up there, men in expensive suits, and women who looked like they'd stepped off magazine covers. Another friend, Sienna, appeared with 3 martinis balanced precariously in her hands. "Drink up, ladies. Tonight is about forgetting ex-fiancés and remembering how amazing we are." I took the offered glass, the cold martini both bitter and sweet on my tongue. The alcohol buzzed through my system, mixing with the adrenaline of the music, the freedom of movement, the simple joy of being alive and young and finally starting to heal. That's when I felt it. The weight of someone's gaze, heavy and intent, boring into me from across the room. I turned slowly, scanning the crowd, and my eyes locked with his. He stood at the edge of the VIP section, one hand casually in his pocket, the other holding a glass of what looked like whiskey. Even from this distance, I could see he was striking. Tall, easily over 6 feet, with broad shoulders that filled out his charcoal suit perfectly. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, all sharp angles and strong lines. But it was his eyes that held me frozen. Dark, intense, fixed on me with a focus that made my skin prickle with awareness. And he was walking toward me. The crowd seemed to part for him naturally, people stepping aside without even looking, as though they sensed his presence on some primal level. Security nodded as he passed, no one questioning his right to descend from the VIP section and enter the general population. My heart hammered against my ribs, and it had nothing to do with the music. "Oh my God," Arya breathed in my ear. "That's Dominic Russo." The name meant nothing to me, but the reverence in her voice told me it should. "Who?" "Diana." Sienna grabbed my arm, her eyes wide. "That's Dominic Russo, as in the Russo family, as in the man who basically owns half this city." Ice trickled down my spine even as heat flushed my cheeks. I'd heard whispers about the Russo family. Everyone had. They were the kind of people you didn't talk about directly, the kind whose names appeared in newspapers in connection with charity galas and real estate deals, never with the darker businesses everyone knew they ran, and he was heading straight for me. I turned away, deliberately putting my back to him, my hands trembling slightly as I took another sip of my martini. No, absolutely not. I'd just escaped one controlling relationship. I wasn't about to step into the orbit of someone who probably made Marcus look like a choir boy. "Diana, he's coming over here," Arya hissed. Do you know what this means? Dominic Russo never approaches women. They come to him. Always. If he's walking over here. I don't care who he is, I said firmly, though my voice shook slightly. I'm not interested. But I could feel him getting closer, could sense the shift in energy around us as people noticed who was approaching. The music seemed to fade into background noise, my entire being hyper-focused on the presence behind me. Excuse me. His voice was deep, rich with a slight Italian accent that wrapped around the words like velvet. I couldn't help but notice you from across the room. I turned slowly, tilting my head back to meet his gaze. Up close, he was even more devastating. Those dark eyes were the color of espresso, framed by thick lashes that should have been illegal on a man. A slight shadow of stubble covered his strong jaw, and when he smiled, I saw a dimple crease his left cheek. Is that so? I kept my voice cool, detached, even as my pulse raced. His smile widened, revealing perfect white teeth. You dance beautifully, like the music lives inside you. It was a good line, smooth, practiced, the kind of thing a man who looked like him probably said to women all the time. Thank you, I said politely. Then I turned back to my friends, dismissing him. I heard Arya's sharp intake of breath, felt Sienna's hand tighten on my arm. Behind me, the air seemed to crackle with tension. I'm Dominic, he said after a moment, and there was something different in his voice now. Surprise, maybe, or intrigue. Dominic Russo. And you are? Not interested, I replied without turning around. The words hung in the air between us. Around us, I could feel people staring, could sense the shock rippling through nearby conversations. Apparently, telling Dominic Russo, not interested, was simply not done. He moved to stand in front of me, blocking my view of the dance floor. This close, I could smell his cologne. Something expensive and woody with notes of bergamot and leather. This close, I could see the tiny scar above his left eyebrow, the intelligence in those dark eyes, the way his jaw had tightened at my rejection. Did I do something to offend you? He asked, and his tone was genuinely curious rather than angry. No, I admitted. But I'm here with my friends, having a good time, and I'd like to keep it that way. I could enhance your good time, he suggested, that confident smile returning. VIP section, best champagne in the house, a table with a view of the entire club. I'm perfectly happy where I am. Thank you. His eyes narrowed slightly, studying me with an intensity that made me want to squirm. You don't know who I am, do you? I know exactly who you are, Mr. Russo, I said, lifting my chin. My friends were kind enough to inform me, and that's precisely why I'm not interested. I just got out of a relationship with a controlling man who thought he owned me. I'm not looking to trade one cage for another, no matter how gilded. Something flickered across his face. Not anger, but something else. Something almost like respect. I see. And what if I promised you it wouldn't be like that? Then I'd say you're a man used to getting what he wants, when he wants it, and I'm a woman who's done being what someone else wants. For a long moment, we stared at each other. The music pounded around us, but it felt like we existed in a bubble of silence. His eyes searched mine, and I refused to look away, refused to be intimidated by the intensity of his gaze or the power I could feel radiating off him. Finally, he smiled. Not the practiced, charming smile from before, but something genuine, something that made him look younger, more human. You're remarkable, he said softly. What's your name? I already told you, not interested. He laughed then, a deep, rich sound that I felt in my bones. Fair enough, not interested. I'll leave you to your evening. He started to turn away, then paused. But if you change your mind, I'll be upstairs. The offer of champagne stands." And then he was gone, melting back into the crowd as smoothly as he'd emerged from it. "Are you insane?" Arya grabbed my shoulders, shaking me slightly. "Do you have any idea what you just did? Women would kill for the attention you just turned down." "Then they can have him," I said, but my hands were shaking as I drained the rest of my martini. I meant what I said. I'm not interested, but as I returned to dancing, trying to recapture the joy I'd felt before Dominic Russo had appeared, I couldn't shake the feeling of his eyes on me. When I glanced up at the VIP section, he was there, leaning against the railing with that glass of whiskey, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. And despite everything I'd said, despite every promise I'd made to myself about staying away from dangerous men, I felt a flutter of something in my chest. Not fear, not exactly. Something else. Something that terrified me more than his reputation, or his power, or the way people had stepped aside for him. Interest. The flowers arrived at my apartment the next morning. I stared at the delivery man holding an enormous bouquet of white roses mixed with something I didn't recognize. Delicate purple flowers that looked almost ethereal in the morning light streaming through my doorway. "Diana Castellano?" the man asked, consulting his tablet. "Yes, but I didn't order." "Delivery for you, ma'am. Sign here, please." My hand trembled slightly as I signed. The moment the door closed, I ripped open the small card nestled among the blooms. "Not interested. These are purple dendrobium orchids. They symbolize respect and admiration. I hope you'll accept them as an apology for approaching you uninvited last night. You were right to protect your peace. I should have respected it from the start. If you ever change your mind about that champagne..." Dominic below his name was a phone number written in elegant script. I should have thrown the card away. Should have donated the flowers. Should have done anything except stand there staring at his words, my heart doing strange things in my chest. Who died? My roommate Zoe emerged from her bedroom, her red hair sticking up at odd angles. Then she saw the bouquet. Holy shit, who sent those? "A mistake," I said quickly, carrying them to the kitchen counter. "Just someone I met last night. Someone who can afford orchids mixed with roses." Zoe moved closer, inhaling deeply. "Diana, these are from Bellissima. Do you know how expensive their arrangements are? This bouquet probably costs more than our rent." I pulled out my phone, fingers hovering over the number on the card. I should text him a polite thank you and a firm reminder that I wasn't interested. That would be the mature adult thing to do. Instead, I found myself typing, "The flowers are beautiful. Thank you." But my answer hasn't changed. His response came within seconds. "I didn't expect it to. I just wanted you to know that I heard you. Enjoy your Sunday, not interested." That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. 3 days later, a package arrived at my office. Inside was a leather-bound first edition of my favorite book, The Great Gatsby. I'd mentioned it once in passing to Arya months ago. The card read, "For when you need to escape into another world. No strings attached." D. How did he even know where I worked? The thought should have frightened me. Instead, I ran my fingers over the embossed cover, touched in a way I didn't want to examine too closely. A week after that, I found my parking tickets had been mysteriously paid off. All of them. The ones I'd been ignoring for months because I couldn't afford them after the split with Marcus. I called the number on the card. He answered on the first ring. "Not interested. I was hoping you'd call." "How did you know about my parking tickets?" I demanded, pacing my tiny living room. "Are you having me followed?" "No." His voice was calm, unbothered by my accusation. "But I may have asked around about you. Made sure you were safe, that you had everything you needed." "That's stalking, Mr. Russo." "That's caring, Ms. Castellano." He paused. "Diana. May I call you Diana?" The way he said my name, with that slight Italian inflection, made warmth pool in my stomach. You can't just pay off my parking tickets. You can't send me expensive gifts. You can't what? Can't make sure you're taken care of? Can't show you that someone sees you, values you? His voice softened. Diana, I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to court you. There's a difference. Court me? I laughed, the sound bitter. People don't court anymore, and men like you don't court women like me. You collect them. Men like me? He sounded genuinely curious. What kind of man do you think I am? I sank onto my couch, staring at the orchids that I'd kept, that were still fresh and beautiful a week later. Dangerous, powerful, used to getting your way. All true, he admitted, but also a man who hasn't been able to stop thinking about a woman who told him no, who dances like she's made of music, who has the courage to walk away from what everyone else desperately wants. He took a breath. Have dinner with me. No. A coffee then. 15 minutes. Public place. You can leave whenever you want. Why? I asked, genuinely confused. Why me? You could have anyone. Because you don't want me for what I can give you. You don't want me at all. He laughed softly. Do you know how rare that is in my world? How refreshing. You looked at me and saw a man, Diana. Not a name, not power, not money. Just a man. And you still said no. That's intoxicating. That's insane. Perhaps. I could hear the smile in his voice. But it's true nonetheless. One coffee. If you hate it, I'll stop. No more flowers, no more gifts, no more paid parking tickets. I'll disappear from your life completely. I should say no, should hang up, should block his number and throw away the card and return the book and forget this dangerous, intense man had ever entered my orbit. One coffee, I heard myself say. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. The cafe on 5th and Maple. The one that's always crowded. I'll be there. The satisfaction in his voice was unmistakable. Thank you, Diana. After I hung up, I sat in the silence of my apartment, wondering what I'd just agreed to. Wondering if I was making the same mistake all over again, letting a charming man with pretty words back into my life. But Marcus had never sent me orchids, had never learned my favorite book, had never looked at me the way Dominic had in that club, like I was the only person in the room. The only person who mattered. Maybe, whispered a traitorous part of my heart, this was different. Maybe he was different. The cafe was packed when I arrived the next day, exactly as I'd planned. Safety in crowds, easy exit routes. A public space where Dominic Russo's power couldn't reach. I spotted him immediately, sitting at a corner table by the window. He wore a navy suit today, no tie, the top button of his white shirt undone. He stood as I approached, pulling out my chair with old-fashioned courtesy. You came, he said, and there was genuine surprise in his voice, relief even. I said I would. People say a lot of things. He signaled the waitress, who appeared instantly, her cheeks flushing when she recognized him. What would you like? Vanilla latte, please, extra shot. He ordered an espresso, then turned his full attention to me. In the afternoon light, I could see more details, the faint scar on his jaw, the silver threading through his dark hair at the temples, tiny lines around his eyes that suggested he smiled more than his reputation would indicate. Thank you for meeting me, he said simply. I know it wasn't easy for you. Why the pursuit? I asked, deciding to be direct. I meant what I said that night. I'm not interested in being collected or controlled or turned into someone's possession. And I meant what I wrote in that card. I respect that. He leaned back as the waitress delivered our coffees, his eyes never leaving mine. But I'd like the chance to show you that I'm not what you think I am. What am I thinking? That I'm like your ex-fiancé. That I'll try to change you, control you, make you small to make myself feel big. His jaw tightened. I made some inquiries. I know what Marcus Thornton did to you. How he made you doubt yourself, isolated you from friends, made you believe you weren't enough. Anger flared in my chest. You investigated me? I wanted to understand why a woman as remarkable as you would reject me so completely. What I found made me want to hurt him. His voice went cold. But that wouldn't serve you, would it? You don't need someone fighting your battles. You need someone who sees how strong you already are. I stirred my latte, processing his words. You don't know me. Then let me. He leaned forward, and I caught a whiff of that cologne again. Let me take you to dinner. Real dinner, not coffee. Let me show you what it's like to be with a man who wants to worship you, not own you. Those sound like the same thing when you say them. They're not. His hand moved across the table, stopping just short of touching mine. May I? I stared at his outstretched hand, my heart hammering. Such a small gesture, such a simple request for permission. But it meant everything. Slowly, I placed my hand in his fingers closed around mine, warm and strong but gentle. Not possessive, not controlling, just holding. I'm not asking you to trust me, he said softly. Not yet. I'm just asking for a chance to earn it. Dinner, one dinner, and if at any point you want to leave, I'll have my driver take you home immediately. No questions, no pressure, no consequences. Why does this matter so much to you? He was quiet for a long moment, his thumb tracing small circles on my palm. Because the moment I saw you dancing, something shifted in my world. You looked so free, so alive, so completely yourself. And I realized I'd been surrounded by people performing for me my entire life. But you were just being, and it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. The honesty in his voice made my throat tight. I don't know if I'm ready for this. For you. Then we'll go slow. He squeezed my hand gently. As slow as you need. I'm a patient man when something matters, Diana. And you matter. I should have pulled my hand away. Should have finished my coffee and walked out and never looked back. Instead, I heard myself whisper, okay. One dinner. His smile was like sunrise breaking over a dark horizon. Saturday night. I'll pick you up at 7. The black Mercedes pulled up outside my apartment building at exactly 7 o'clock. I watched from my window as Dominic emerged from the back seat, looking devastating in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. He didn't pull out his phone or check his watch. He just stood there, patient and still, waiting for me to come down. You look incredible, Zoe said from behind me. I'd chosen a deep emerald dress that hugged my curves before flowing into a soft skirt, simple but elegant. My blonde hair fell in loose waves down my back, and I'd kept my makeup natural except for a bold red lip. I feel like I'm making a mistake, I admitted, my hand trembling as I reached for my clutch. Or maybe you're finally doing something for yourself, instead of playing it safe. She hugged me quickly. Text me every hour so I know you're alive. And remember, you can leave anytime you want. The drive to the restaurant took us across the city to an area I'd never been to. Old money neighborhood with brownstones and tree-lined streets. The restaurant itself was unmarked. Just a black door with a small bronze plaque. No sign? I asked as Dominic helped me from the car. They don't need one. If you know, you know. His hand settled on the small of my back, warm through the thin fabric of my dress. And before you ask, I own it. So we'll have complete privacy. I stopped walking. You own the entire restaurant? I own many things, Diana. He guided me gently forward. But tonight, I just want to own your attention for a few hours. Nothing more. The interior was breathtaking. Exposed brick walls, candlelight, soft jazz playing from hidden speakers. But it was completely empty except for one table set for 2 in the center of the space. "Where is everyone?" I asked. "I told you. Privacy." He pulled out my chair. "I wanted tonight to be about getting to know you without interruption, without people staring or whispering or making you uncomfortable." As I sat, I noticed the orchids in the centerpiece. Purple dendrobium, just like the ones he'd sent. "You're very thorough." "When something matters, I pay attention to details." He took the seat across from me, and a waiter appeared from nowhere with wine. "This is a Brunello di Montalcino from my family's vineyard in Tuscany, but if you'd prefer something else—" "It's fine," I said, watching as he poured. The wine was deep red, and when I sipped, it tasted like dark fruit and earth and summer nights. "It's perfect, actually." "Good." He raised his glass. "To second chances and brave women who say no." I clinked my glass against his, unable to suppress a smile. "You're very smooth, Mr. Russo." "Dominic, please. And I'm really not. I'm completely out of practice at this." "At what? Courting?" "At genuinely trying to impress someone." He set down his wine. "In my world, Diana, most relationships are transactional. Alliances, arrangements, mutually beneficial agreements. I haven't been on a real date in years. This doesn't feel like a date. It feels like a seduction." His laugh was warm and genuine. "I suppose it is. But I'm trying to seduce your mind, not just your body. Though I won't lie and say I haven't thought about that too." Heat flooded my cheeks at his directness. "You can't just say things like that." "Why not? I'm being honest. You're a beautiful woman, Diana. Stunning, actually. But what drew me to you wasn't your looks. It was the way you moved, the joy on your face, the absolute confidence in yourself when you told me no." He leaned forward. "Do you know how rare that is? To meet someone who knows exactly who they are and refuses to compromise it?" "I'm not that confident," I admitted. "I spent 5 years letting Marcus shape me into what he wanted. 5 years making myself smaller and quieter, and less so he'd stay. And he still left." "Then he's a fool." Dominic's voice went hard. "And you're better off without him." The first course arrived, some delicate seafood dish that melted on my tongue. As we ate, Dominic asked questions. Real questions. About my work as a teacher, about why I'd chosen education, about my favorite books and movies and the places I dreamed of traveling. He listened with complete attention, no phone interrupting us, no glances at his watch. Just his dark eyes fixed on mine, absorbing every word like it mattered. "What about you?" I asked as the main course arrived. Perfectly cooked lamb that fell apart under my fork. "Tell me about Dominic Russo when he's not running an empire." "There isn't much to tell. I took over my father's business when I was 25. Been running it ever since." "That's 15 years, I calculated, doing the math. "You must have been very young." "My father died suddenly. Heart attack. Someone had to step up." He took a sip of wine. "The legitimate businesses were already established. The real estate, the restaurants, the import companies. But there were other aspects that needed attention. The illegal aspects. I won't lie to you, Diana. Not about who I am or what I do." His gaze was steady. "Yes, parts of my business operate outside the law. Protection, mostly. Ensuring that the people and businesses under my family's umbrella stay safe. That justice gets served when the legal system fails. That's a convenient rationalization. It's the truth." He set down his fork. "I don't sell drugs. I don't traffic people. I don't prey on the innocent. But I do protect my people. And sometimes that means getting my hands dirty. I should have been horrified, should have made my excuses and left. But there was something in his honesty, his refusal to dress up what he was, that I found almost refreshing after years of Marcus's gaslighting and manipulation." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because if we're going to do this, whatever this is, I need you to see me clearly. The good and the bad. The legitimate businessman and the man who operates in shadows. He reached across the table, his hand open. An invitation, not a demand. I won't lie to you, Diana, ever, even when the truth is ugly. I placed my hand in his, and his fingers closed around mine with that same gentle certainty. This is insane. We barely know each other. Then let's change that. Ask me anything. I'll answer honestly. Anything? Anything. I thought for a moment. Have you ever killed anyone? He didn't flinch. Yes, 3 times. Twice in self-defense when I was younger and stupid enough to handle threats personally. Once to protect someone who couldn't protect themselves. The casual way he said it should have sent me running. Instead, I asked, do you regret it? The first 2, yes. I was reckless and could have found another way. The third? He shook his head. No. Some monsters deserve to die, Diana. And sometimes the law can't reach them. We sat in silence for a moment, his hand warm around mine. Then I asked the question that really mattered. Will you ever lie to me? Never. The word was absolute. I'll keep secrets to protect you. I'll omit details about my business that could put you in danger. But I will never deliberately deceive you. You have my word. And what's the word of a man who operates outside the law worth? His smile was slight, but genuine. In my world, everything. I've built my reputation on keeping promises, on being a man whose word is his bond. If I say I'll do something, it gets done. If I say I won't do something, you can count on it. Dessert arrived, some chocolate creation that was almost too beautiful to eat. As we shared it, the conversation shifted to lighter topics. He told me about growing up in New York, about his grandmother who'd taught him to make pasta from scratch, about the villa in Tuscany he escaped to when the city became too much. I found myself laughing at his stories, relaxing into the evening in a way I hadn't expected. He was charming, yes, but also funny and self-deprecating and surprisingly vulnerable when he talked about his family. My mother died when I was 12, he said quietly, swirling the grappa that had come with dessert. Cancer. Watching her fade away while being completely powerless to stop it. That shaped me more than anything else. It taught me that I never wanted to feel helpless again. I'm sorry, I said softly. That must have been terrible. It was. But it also taught me to value the people I love fiercely. To protect them with everything I have. To never take a single moment for granted. His eyes met mine. Which is why I pursued you, Diana. Because I felt something that night in the club that I haven't felt in years. Connection. Possibility. Hope that maybe there was someone in this world who could see past what I am to who I am. My throat tightened with emotion. I don't know if I can be that person. I'm still broken from Marcus. Still healing. Then let me help you heal. Not by fixing you. You don't need fixing. But by showing you what it's like to be with someone who values you exactly as you are. He stood, coming around the table to offer his hand. Dance with me. The jazz had shifted to something slow and sultry. I let him pull me to my feet, let him draw me close on the empty restaurant floor. His hand settled on my waist, warm and sure, while the other held mine against his chest. I could feel his heartbeat, steady and strong under my palm. We moved together slowly, swaying to the music in the candlelight. This close, I could smell his cologne, could feel the warmth radiating from his body, could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. This is dangerous, I whispered. Why? Because I'm starting to like you, and that terrifies me. Good. He pulled me closer, until our bodies were flushed together. Because I already like you, Diana. More than like you. You've been haunting my thoughts since that night. Every time I close my eyes, I see you dancing. Every time I'm alone, I wonder what you're doing. If you're safe, if you're happy. That's obsession, not affection. Maybe it's both. His hand moved up my back, his fingers tracing my spine through the thin fabric. Maybe I'm obsessed with the idea of making you happy, of earning your trust, of proving to you that not all powerful men are like your ex. I should have pulled away, should have reminded him we were moving too fast. Instead, I rested my head against his chest and let him hold me as we danced. I'm scared, I admitted. Scared of getting hurt again. Scared of losing myself in someone else. Scared that I'm making the same mistake. You're not. His voice was firm. Because I see you, Diana. All of you. The strength you've rebuilt after being torn down. The courage it takes to even be here with me. The woman you are. Not the woman someone tried to make you. When the song ended, we stood there for a moment, still holding each other. Then Dominic stepped back, his hands gentle as they framed my face. "Thank you for tonight," he said softly, "for giving me a chance." "Just one dinner," I reminded him, though my resolve was crumbling. "That was the deal. Then let me take you home. And maybe, if you're willing, we can talk about what happens next." As we drove back to my apartment, his hand found mine in the darkness of the car. And I let it stay there, our fingers intertwined, a bridge between his world and mine. When we arrived, he walked me to my door like a gentleman from another era. No pushing for more, no expectation that the evening would end in his bed. Just a soft kiss pressed to my forehead that made me ache with longing. "Good night, Diana," he murmured. "Sleep well." "Good night, Dominic." I watched him walk away, back straight and confident, and knew with absolute certainty that I was in trouble. The kind of trouble that came from falling for a dangerous man who looked at you like you were everything. The kind of trouble I wasn't sure I wanted to escape. The messages started 3 days after our dinner. The first one came while I was teaching, my phone buzzing in my desk drawer during 5th period English. I ignored it until my lunch break, expecting to find a text from Arya or my mother. Instead, I found a message from an unknown number. "Be careful with Dominic Russo. He's more dangerous than you know." Ice trickled down my spine. I stared at the screen, my sandwich forgotten. Who was this? How did they have my number? I was still staring when another message arrived. "He's using you. Men like him don't change. Ask him about the warehouse fire in Brooklyn last month. Ask him who really started it." My hands trembled as I blocked the number, but the damage was done. The seed of doubt had been planted. That night, Dominic called as he'd been doing every evening since our dinner. We'd fallen into a pattern, these late-night conversations where we talked about everything and nothing. He'd tell me about his day, carefully editing out the dangerous parts. I'd tell him about my students, about the books I was reading, about my small, ordinary life. "You're quiet tonight," he observed after I'd given mostly one-word answers. "What's wrong?" I shouldn't ask, shouldn't give credence to anonymous messages from someone who clearly had an agenda. But I couldn't help myself. "Tell me about the warehouse fire in Brooklyn." The silence that followed was deafening. "Who told you about that?" His voice had gone cold, controlled in a way that made my stomach clench. "Does it matter?" "Yes." One word, absolute. "It matters very much." "Diana, who contacted you?" "An anonymous text. They said I should ask you about it, that you're more dangerous than I know." I heard him exhale slowly. "And you believe them?" "I don't know what to believe. That's why I'm asking." Another long pause. Then, "There was a fire at one of my warehouses last month. The official report said faulty wiring. The truth is, Someone said it deliberately. Did you retaliate? Yes. His honesty was almost brutal. I found the men responsible and made sure they understood the consequences of targeting what's mine. But I didn't start the fire, Diana. I don't destroy my own property to collect insurance or send messages. I'm many things, but I'm not stupid. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But the doubt was there now, poisonous and persistent. How do I know you're telling the truth? You don't. His voice softened. You have to decide whether to trust me or not. I can't prove my innocence without revealing details about my business that could put you in danger. All I can do is give you my word that I didn't start that fire. Your word, I repeated, the word of a man who admits he's hurt people. To protect what's mine, yes, but I don't lie to you, Diana. I promised you that. He paused. Who sent you that message? Let me trace the number. I blocked it. Unblock it. Send me the number. This isn't random. Someone is deliberately trying to drive a wedge between us. Or they're trying to warn me before I get in too deep. Are you in too deep? The vulnerability in his question made my heart clench. I looked around my small apartment, at the orchids he'd sent that I'd kept carefully watered, at the first edition Gatsby on my nightstand, at the life I was building that suddenly felt incomplete without his voice every night. Yes, I whispered. I think I am. Then trust me. Trust what we're building. Don't let someone with an agenda poison it before we've had a chance to see what it could become. But the next morning, there was an envelope slipped under my apartment door. No name, no return address. Inside were photographs. Dominic meeting with men I recognized from news reports about organized crime. Dominic entering buildings that had been raided by the FBI months later. Dominic at the funeral of a rival who died under mysterious circumstances. And a single note. This is who he really is. Get out while you still can. I called in sick to work and sat on my couch staring at the photographs, my mind spinning. Everything looked damning when presented this way. Every meeting sinister, every coincidence suspicious. Aria came over after I texted her an SOS. She spread the photos across my coffee table, her face grave. These could be doctored, she said finally. Photoshopped. Anyone with basic skills could create this. Or they could be real. Diana, she took my hands. I've done some research on Dominic Russo since you started seeing him. Yes, he's connected to organized crime, but he's also donated millions to schools, hospitals, community centers. He's cleaned up neighborhoods that the city abandoned. He's a criminal with a good PR team? I interrupted bitterly. Or a complicated man trying to do better than his father did. She squeezed my hands. You need to talk to him. Show him these. See how he reacts. Dominic arrived within an hour of my call, his driver barely stopping the car before he was out and heading for my building. When I opened the door, he looked almost frantic, his usual composure shattered. Are you okay? Your text said it was urgent. His eyes scanned me, looking for injury, for harm. Come in. I stepped aside, and he followed me to the living room where the photographs were still spread across the table. He went very still when he saw them. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. Marco, I need you to trace whoever's targeting Diana. I want a name by tonight. He hung up without waiting for a response and turned to me. When did you get these? This morning, slipped under my door, and the person yesterday who sent you the text about the warehouse. Probably the same person. He nodded slowly, his jaw tight. This is Vincent Castellano. It has to be. Who? A rival. He's been trying to undermine my position for months, and now he's found my weakness. Dominic's eyes met mine. You. He's found you. The word weakness stung more than it should have. I'm not your weakness. You are. His honesty was brutal. Because I care about you more than I should this soon. Because the thought of losing you makes me want to burn down the entire city. Because for the first time in 15 years, I have something that matters more than business. He moved closer. And Vincent knows it. He's trying to drive you away before what we have becomes too strong to break. What if he's right? What if I should leave? Then I'll let you go. The pain in his voice was visceral. I won't force you to stay, Diana. I won't manipulate or coerce you. If you look at those photographs and decide I'm too dangerous, too dark, too much, then I'll step back. I'll make sure you're protected. But I'll leave you alone. I looked at the photos again, then at Dominic, at the man who'd courted me with patience and respect, who'd been honest about his darkness while showing me glimpses of light, who called every night just to hear my voice, who sent orchids because they meant respect. Tell me the truth about these, I said, pointing to a photo of him with known criminals. All of it. He sat beside me and went through each photograph, explaining the context with brutal honesty. The meetings were real. The business dealings, too. But he also explained the protection networks he'd built, the communities he'd saved from worse predators, the balance he tried to maintain between his family's legacy and his own conscience. I'm not a good man, Diana, he said finally, but I'm trying to be better. You make me want to be better. That's not fair, I whispered, putting that on me. You're right, it's not. He stood, preparing to leave. I'm sorry for dragging you into this, for making you a target. Vincent won't stop as long as he thinks you matter to me. Do I? Matter to you? He turned back, and the rawness in his expression stole my breath. More than anything, more than I thought possible after knowing someone for such a short time. I stood, moving to him before I could second-guess myself. Then help me trust you. Show me that whoever's doing this is wrong. His hands came up to frame my face, gentle despite the intensity in his eyes. I will. I promise you, Diana. I'll find out who's behind this, and I'll stop them, and I'll prove to you that what we have is real. When he kissed me, it wasn't gentle. It was desperate, and claiming, and full of everything he couldn't say, and I kissed him back with equal desperation, choosing in that moment to believe in him despite all the logical reasons not to. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. Stay with me tonight, at my place. You're not safe here if Vincent knows where you live. I can't just leave my life. One night, please. Let me keep you safe for one night while I figure out how to end this. I should have said no. Should have maintained boundaries. But I was tired of being brave and strong and independent. Just for one night, I wanted to let someone else be strong for me. Okay, I whispered. One night. His smile was like sunrise breaking through storm clouds. Pack a bag. I'll have Marco secure your apartment. As I threw clothes into an overnight bag, my phone buzzed with another message from the unknown number. Running to him won't save you. It'll only make everything worse. I deleted it without responding. Then I walked out of my apartment with my hand in Dominic's, choosing danger over safety, darkness over light, and a complicated truth over comfortable lies. Whatever came next, at least I wouldn't face it alone. Dominic's penthouse was nothing like I'd imagined. I'd expected opulence and cold marble, displays of wealth meant to intimidate. Instead, I found warmth. Exposed brick walls lined with overflowing bookshelves, comfortable leather furniture worn soft with use, a kitchen that clearly saw actual cooking, not just catered meals. And everywhere, photographs. His grandmother in Italy, his mother holding a young Dominic, candid shots of people who were clearly family, faces lit with genuine joy. This isn't what I expected, I admitted, setting down my bag. What did you expect? A lair? He shrugged out of his jacket, and I tried not to stare at the way his dress shirt stretched across his shoulders. I know what people think of me, Diana. But this is my home, the one place I can just be Dominic, not the Russo heir. It's beautiful. So are you. He moved closer, and my breath caught at the heat in his eyes. I'm glad you're here, even if the circumstances aren't ideal. His phone buzzed, and he glanced at the screen. Marco, I need to take this. Make yourself comfortable. There's wine in the kitchen, food in the fridge. Anything you want is yours. As he stepped away to take the call, I explored the space. The books were eclectic, everything from Italian classics to contemporary thrillers. The art was personal, pieces that meant something rather than expensive status symbols. And on the mantel above the fireplace, I found a photo that stopped me cold. A young woman with my coloring, my build, my smile. She stood next to an older man who looked like Dominic, both of them laughing at something off camera. That's my mother and father, Dominic said from behind me. 6 months before she got sick. She's beautiful, and she looks like you. His arms came around my waist, pulling me back against his chest. I noticed it that first night. Something about the way you moved, the light in your eyes. It reminded me of her before the cancer took that light away. I turned in his arms to face him. Is that why you pursued me? Because I remind you of her? No. His hands moved up to cup my face. I pursued you because you're Diana. Stubborn, brave, complicated Diana who sees me clearly and chooses to stay anyway. He paused. Marco traced the messages. It is Vincent Castellano. He's been watching you for days, trying to find ammunition to use against me. Fear spiked through me. What does he want? To destabilize me, to make me look weak. If he can drive you away, prove that I can be manipulated through emotion, other families will see it as an opportunity to challenge my position. His thumb traced my lower lip. I won't let that happen. I'm meeting with him tomorrow, ending this. How? It's better if you don't know the details. No. I pulled back. No more secrets. If I'm in danger because of you, I deserve to know how you're planning to fix it. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Fair. Vincent has been skimming from his family's businesses. Marco found proof, documents that would destroy him if they went public. I'm going to offer him a choice. Leave you alone and I destroy the evidence, or keep targeting you, and I hand it over to his father. Either way, he stops. That's blackmail. That's how my world works. He didn't apologize for it. I protect what's mine, Diana, by whatever means necessary. And what if it's not enough? What if he calls your bluff? Then I'll do what needs to be done. The coldness in his voice reminded me exactly who Dominic Russo was beneath the soft sweaters and book collections. No one threatens you and walks away unscathed. I should have been frightened by his intensity, by the casual way he discussed destroying another man's life. Instead, I felt something warm unfurl in my chest. Being protected by Dominic wasn't like being controlled by Marcus. Marcus had used protection as a weapon, isolating me while claiming it was for my safety. Dominic was offering me his strength while respecting my autonomy. I believe you, I said softly. But I'm still scared. Good. Fear keeps you careful. He pressed a kiss to my forehead. Are you hungry? I could cook for us. The domesticity of the offer made me smile. You cook. My grandmother made sure all her grandchildren could make proper pasta. She said a man who couldn't feed himself was only half a man. He led me to the kitchen, rolling up his sleeves. I make a mean carbonara. I sat at the counter and watched him work, fascinated by the competence in his movements. This wasn't a man who occasionally dabbled in cooking. This was someone who found peace in it, who understood that creation could be as satisfying as control. As he whisked eggs and grated cheese, I asked the question that had been nagging at me. Why haven't you pressured me for more? Physical intimacy? We've been seeing each other for weeks now, his hand stilled on the grater. Because you're not ready. And when it happens, I want you to be absolutely certain. No doubts, no fears, no wondering if you're making a mistake. What if I'm never certain? Then we'll figure it out together. He resumed grating. Diana, I'm not with you for sex. I could have that with anyone. I'm with you because you make me feel human again. Because you argue with me. Because you challenge my assumptions. Because you're healing from something terrible and you're still brave enough to trust me with pieces of yourself. Tears pricked my eyes at his words. You're making it very hard to keep my walls up. Good. I want them down. I want all of you, Diana. The broken parts, the healed parts, the parts still healing. I want the woman who dances like music lives inside her, and the woman who's terrified of getting hurt again. All of it. All of you. The carbonara was perfect. Creamy and rich with crispy pancetta and fresh cracked pepper. We ate at his dining table, talking and laughing, the shadows of Vincent's threats temporarily forgotten. After dinner, Dominic put on music, something slow and Italian, and pulled me into his arms. We swayed together in his living room, my head on his chest, his heartbeat steady under my ear. Stay, he murmured against my hair. Not just tonight. Stay with me until this is resolved. Let me keep you safe. I can't hide from my life. Not hiding, strategic retreat. His arms tightened around me. Please, Diana. I can't focus on dealing with Vincent if I'm worried about you being vulnerable in your apartment. The plea in his voice undid me. This powerful man who never asked for anything was asking me to let him protect me. How could I refuse? A few days, I conceded, until you've handled Vincent. Then I go back to my life. Deal. He pulled back enough to look at me, and the heat in his eyes made my pulse race. And Diana, when this is over, when you're safe, I'm going to court you properly. Dates and flowers and slow seduction until you can't imagine your life without me in it. Pretty confident, aren't you? No. His honesty surprised me. Terrified, actually. Terrified that you'll realize you deserve better than a man with blood on his hands. Terrified that I'll fail to protect you. Terrified that I'm falling in love with you and you'll never feel the same. My breath caught. Dominic. You don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. He kissed me softly, a gentle brush of lips that promised patience. Come on. I'll show you the guest room. But later, as I lay in the unfamiliar bed, I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow seemed threatening. Around midnight, I gave up and padded down the hall to Dominic's room. I knocked softly, and he opened the door immediately, wearing only pajama bottoms, his chest bare. Diana? What's wrong? I can't sleep. Keep thinking about Vincent watching me, about all the ways this could go wrong. I wrapped my arms around myself. Can I stay with you? Just to sleep. I just don't want to be alone. Without a word, he stepped aside and let me in. His bed was huge, the sheets soft and smelling of his cologne. He climbed in beside me and pulled me close, my back to his chest, his arms secure around my waist. I've got you, he murmured. Nothing's going to hurt you while I'm here. Sleep, amore mio. I'll keep watch. Safe in his arms, his warmth surrounding me, I finally drifted off. And for the first time since Marcus, I slept through the night without nightmares. The meeting with Vincent happened 2 days later. Dominic left before dawn, pressing a kiss to my forehead as I pretended to still be asleep. Through barely cracked eyelids, I watched him dress in a dark suit, checking a gun in a shoulder holster before covering it with his jacket. The stark reminder of his world sent ice through my veins, but I stayed silent until the door closed behind him. Then I got up and did the only thing I could think of. I called Arya. "He's meeting with the man who's been threatening me," I said without preamble, "and I'm terrified something's going to go wrong." "Where are you?" "His penthouse. He wanted me somewhere safe." She was quiet for a moment. "Diana, how deep are you in this?" "Deep enough that I can't imagine going back to my life before him. Deep enough that I'm falling in love with him, even though I know I shouldn't. Deep enough that if something happens to him, I don't know how I'll survive it." "Then you need to trust him to handle this. Dominic Russo didn't build his empire by being careless. But trust was terrifying when the stakes were this high. I spent the morning pacing, checking my phone obsessively, jumping at every sound. Marco called once to say things were proceeding as planned, but he couldn't give details. It was afternoon when my phone buzzed with a message from the unknown number I thought I'd blocked. "He's walking into a trap. Vincent has no intention of negotiating. If you care about Dominic, get to the warehouse on Pier 19 now." My hands shook as I stared at the screen. It could be a lie, Vincent trying to lure me out of safety. Or it could be the truth, someone trying to warn me before it was too late. I called Dominic. It went to voicemail, called Marco. Same thing. The message came again. 20 minutes. That's all the time he has. Your choice, Diana. I grabbed my coat and ran. The cab driver looked nervous when I gave him the address, but he took me anyway. Pier 19 was in the industrial district, all abandoned warehouses and broken windows, exactly the kind of place where dangerous men handled their business. The warehouse in question looked deserted, but I could see black SUVs parked around back. Dominic's men. Which meant he was here. But was he safe? I approached carefully, my heart hammering so hard I could barely breathe. Through a grimy window I could see inside. Dominic stood in the center of the space, facing Vincent Castellano and 6 armed men. He looked calm, controlled, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. "You really thought I'd roll over because you have some paperwork?" Vincent was saying, his voice carrying through the broken window. "I've been in this life longer than you, Russo. I know how to handle threats." "Then you know this ends badly for you if you don't walk away from Diana." Dominic's voice was cold steel. "I'm offering you a way out with your dignity intact. I suggest you take it." "Or what? You'll kill me?" "Here, with all my men watching?" Vincent laughed. "You're not that stupid. You kill me, you start a war my family will never forgive." "Who said anything about killing you?" Dominic smiled, and even from outside, I could see it was dangerous. "I'm simply going to make sure you understand the consequences of your actions. Marco?" One of Dominic's men stepped forward with a laptop, turning it to face Vincent. Whatever was on that screen made Vincent's face go white. "That's impossible." "Those files were encrypted." "Nothing is impossible when you have the right connections. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to transfer half your territory to neutral oversight. You're going to issue a public apology for attempting to undermine my position. And you're never going to speak Diana's name again, or even think about her. Do all of that, and these files stay between us." Vincent's face twisted with rage. "You're destroying me." "No, I'm teaching you a lesson. Destroy you would be sending these to your father and watching him tear you apart himself." Dominic stepped closer. "Touch what's mine again, and next time, I won't be merciful." That's when I saw it. One of Vincent's men, moving subtly behind Dominic, reaching for something in his jacket. A gun. I didn't think. I yanked open the warehouse door and screamed, "Dominic, behind you!" Everything happened at once. Dominic spun, drawing his own weapon with practiced speed. Marco and the other men moved to protect him. The sound of gunfire exploded through the space, deafening and terrifying. Then strong hands grabbed me, yanking me backward. Vincent had crossed the distance in seconds, his arm around my throat, a gun pressed to my temple. "Nobody move," he snarled, "or I paint the walls with her brains." The warehouse went deadly silent. Dominic had frozen mid-movement, his gun still raised but his eyes locked on me with an expression of pure horror. "Let her go, Vincent." His voice was carefully controlled, but I could hear the fear underneath. "This is between us. She's not part of this. She became part of it the moment you cared about her." Vincent's grip tightened on my throat, making me gasp. "Now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to destroy those files while I watch. Then you're going to walk away and never mention this meeting to anyone. Do that, and maybe I let her live." "Don't," I managed to choke out. "Dominic, don't give him—" Vincent's hand covered my mouth, cutting off my words. The gun pressed harder against my temple, and I saw Dominic's finger tighten on his trigger. "Your choice, Russo. The files or the girl. You have 5 seconds." Time seemed to slow down. I could see Dominic calculating, could see the war in his eyes between protecting his empire and protecting me. And I knew, with absolute certainty, which he would choose. "Marco," Dominic said quietly, "destroy the files." "Boss, do it. Now." As Marco moved toward the laptop, Vincent laughed. "There it is. The great Dominic Russo, brought to his knees by a woman. Your father would be ashamed. My father would have done the same thing for my mother." Dominic lowered his gun slowly. "Files are destroyed. Now let her go." But I'd seen the look in Vincent's eyes. He had no intention of honoring the deal. He was going to kill me anyway, just to prove he could, just to hurt Dominic in the most permanent way possible. So I did the only thing I could think of. I went completely limp, dead weight in Vincent's arms. Surprised, his grip loosened for just a second. I drove my elbow back into his stomach with all my strength and dropped to the floor. Gunfire erupted again, but this time I was already crawling, getting distance between myself and Vincent. I heard him scream, heard the thud of something hitting the ground. Then Dominic was there, pulling me up and into his arms, his hands frantically checking me for injuries. "Are you hurt? Diana, look at me, are you hit?" "I'm okay," I gasped, clinging to him. "I'm okay." Behind us, Vincent was on the ground, Marco standing over him with a gun. Not dead, but clearly neutralized. The threat was over. "What the hell were you thinking?" Dominic's voice shook as he pulled back to look at me. "You could have been killed. I told you to stay at the penthouse where it was safe. They sent me a message. Said you were walking into a trap." "So you walked into it yourself?" Anger and fear warred in his expression. "Diana, if something had happened to you—" "But it didn't. I'm fine. We're both fine. This time." He pulled me close again, burying his face in my hair. "God, when I saw him grab you, when I saw that gun to your head, I've never been so terrified in my life." "The files," I said suddenly. "You destroyed them for me. I'd destroy my entire empire for you." His voice was fierce. "Every business, every alliance, everything I've built. None of it matters if you're not alive to share it with me." I pulled back to look at him, seeing the truth written plainly in his eyes. This dangerous, powerful man loved me. Completely. Absolutely. Enough to sacrifice everything. "I love you," I whispered. "I've been trying not to, trying to keep my walls up. But Dominic, I love you." His kiss was desperate and claiming, and full of everything we'd both been too afraid to say. When we finally broke apart, both breathless, he rested his forehead against mine. "Marry me." I blinked. "What?" "Marry me, Diana. I know it's fast. I know you're still healing. But I almost lost you today. And I can't go another minute without knowing you're mine. Completely. Forever. His hands framed my face. Say yes. You're insane. About you? Absolutely. He smiled. Say yes, amore mio. Let me spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you. Let me protect you, cherish you, love you the way you deserve. I looked at this complicated, dangerous, beautiful man who'd upended my life in the best possible way, who'd respected my boundaries while pursuing me relentlessly, who'd been honest about his darkness while showing me glimpses of light, who'd just sacrificed his power to save my life. Yes, I said, laughing and crying at the same time. Yes, I'll marry you. His shout of joy echoed through the warehouse. He spun me around, kissing me senseless, while his men discreetly dealt with Vincent in the background. When he finally set me down, he pulled a ring from his pocket. Not some massive diamond meant to intimidate, but a delicate sapphire surrounded by small diamonds. It was my grandmother's, he said softly. She told me to give it to the woman who made me want to be better. He slipped it on my finger, a perfect fit, and I stared at it through tears. It's beautiful. You're beautiful and brave and absolutely insane for agreeing to marry a man like me. Lucky for you, I like insane. 6 months later, I stood in front of a mirror in a dress that made me feel like a princess. Outside, I could hear the guests gathering for our wedding. Not the massive, ostentatious affair Dominic's position would normally dictate, but something intimate. Just family and the friends who'd supported us through everything. Arya appeared behind me, adjusting my veil. You look stunning. Marcus is going to die when he sees the photos. I don't care about Marcus, I said honestly, and I didn't. That broken engagement, that devastating betrayal, had led me to Dominic, had taught me the difference between being controlled and being cherished. Ready? Arya asked. I looked at my reflection one last time. Diana Castellano, soon to be Diana Russo. Teacher, reader, dancer. Woman who'd been broken and healed. Woman who'd said no and meant it. Woman who'd chosen danger over safety and found love in the darkness. Ready, I said. The music started, and I walked down the aisle toward Dominic. He stood at the altar in a midnight blue suit that matched my ring, his eyes locked on mine with that same intensity from our first meeting. But now there was no distance, no walls. Just love, pure and certain and strong enough to weather any storm. When I reached him, he took my hands and whispered, "Last chance to run." "Not a chance," I whispered back. "You're stuck with me." "Forever?" "Forever." And as we spoke our vows, as he slipped his ring onto my finger, and I did the same for him, I knew with absolute certainty that I'd made the right choice. The only choice. I danced into a nightclub trying to forget my broken heart, and found a man who made it whole again. I'd said not interested, and sparked an obsession that became devotion. I'd walked into danger and found safety in the most unlikely arms. Diana Russo. It had a nice ring to it. Our story wasn't conventional. It wasn't safe or sensible or what anyone would call smart. But it was ours, built on honesty and respect, and a love fierce enough to overcome any obstacle. When Dominic kissed me, sealing our vows, the crowd erupted in applause. But I barely heard them. I was too focused on the man holding me, the one who'd seen me at my lowest and lifted me to heights I'd never imagined. "I love you, Mrs. Russo," he murmured against my lips. "I love you too," I said. "Always." And I meant it. Always and forever, through darkness and light, we'd face everything together. The end and the beginning.